The day the aliens came was just like any other Tuesday. People went to work, kids went to school, and life moved on as usual. That is, until the massive spaceship appeared in the sky over New York City. At first, people thought it was a movie stunt or a weird cloud. But when the ship started to lower itself towards Central Park, everyone knew this was real. The world held its breath as the ship, bigger than any building humans had ever made, touched down on the green grass. For hours, nothing happened. The army showed up, news crews swarmed the area, and millions watched on TV. Then, with a hiss and a cloud of steam, a door opened in the side of the ship. Out walked the aliens. They looked almost human, but taller and with skin that shimmered like fish scales. Their eyes were big and purple, and they had long, thin fingers. The leader, easy to spot because of its fancy clothes, stepped forward. "We come in peace," it said in perfect English. The crowd gasped. How did they know our language? The next few days were crazy. World leaders flew to New York for emergency meetings. Scientists asked the aliens thousands of questions, and regular people, they just tried to wrap their heads around the fact that we weren't alone in the universe. The aliens, who called themselves the Zor, were very smart. They showed off tech that seemed like magic to humans. They could cure diseases with a wave of a device, travel faster than light, and even control the weather. Next to the Zor, humans felt small and not very special. Our best computers looked like toys to them. Our fastest planes were slower than their smallest ships. Even our art and music, things we were proud of, didn't seem to impress them much. But there was one thing about humans that made the Zor curious. They wouldn't say what it was, but they kept watching people as if trying to figure out a puzzle. 1 week after they landed, the Zor leader asked to speak to the United Nations. Every TV on Earth showed the alien standing at the podium, looking out at the room full of human leaders. "People of Earth," the Zor said, its voice calm and clear, "we have studied your world and your people. We have seen your technology, your art, your cultures. In many ways, you are far behind us." The room was silent. No one liked hearing that, but no one could argue either. However, the alien continued, "We have noticed something unique about humans, something that, in all our travels across the galaxy, we have never seen before." Now everyone leaned forward, eager to hear what made humans special. "We believe this trait of yours could be very valuable. So valuable, in fact, that we wish to propose a challenge." The word challenge sent a buzz through the crowd. What kind of challenge could super-advanced aliens have for humans? "If you accept and win this challenge, Earth will be welcomed into the galactic community. You will gain access to our knowledge and technology. Your world will enter a new age of progress and discovery." Excited whispers filled the room. It sounded too good to be true. However, the Zor leader held up a hand for quiet. "If you lose or choose not to accept, we will leave your planet. We will place a barrier around your solar system. No Zor or any other alien race will contact Earth again until you have advanced enough to break that barrier on your own." The room erupted in shocked voices. The aliens' words sank in. This was huge. The future of humanity depended on this challenge. "You have 1 Earth week to decide," the Zor leader said. "Choose wisely." As the alien left the podium, the world was left with big questions. What was this human trait the Zor had seen? What would the challenge be? And most importantly, could humanity win? The clock was ticking. In 7 days, Earth would have to make a choice that would change everything forever. The week after the Zor's announcement was the longest in human history. Everyone on Earth talked about the alien challenge. What could it be? Should they accept? What if they lost? World leaders met every day. Scientists worked around the clock, trying to guess what the Zor had seen in humans. Some people were excited, others were scared, but everyone knew this was big. On the last day, the UN voted. It was close, but in the end, they decided to accept the challenge. The future was uncertain, but the chance to join the galactic community was too good to pass up. The Zor leader returned to the UN. Its purple eyes looked over the crowded room. "You have chosen to accept our challenge," it said. "We are pleased. Now we will explain." The alien held up a small cube. It glowed with a soft blue light. This device, the Zor said, can show us anything in the universe. It can solve any problem, answer any question. We thought it was perfect. The humans looked confused. If the Zor had such an amazing device, what did they need humans for? But, the alien continued, we have found a flaw. There are some problems this cube cannot solve, some questions it cannot answer, and that is where you humans come in. A murmur went through the crowd. What did this mean? In all our travels, we have never met a species that can do what you do. You have a unique way of thinking, of seeing the world. You find answers where none seem to exist. You create solutions that should be impossible. Now people were really confused. Humans didn't feel special next to the Zor's amazing tech, but the aliens seemed to think humans had something important. Our challenge is this, the Zor leader said. We will present a series of problems, things our cube cannot solve. If you can solve even one of them, you win. Earth will join the galactic community. The room was silent. It sounded almost too easy. There had to be a catch. However, the alien went on, if you fail to solve any of the problems, we will leave as we said before. Earth will be alone, cut off from the galaxy, until you can break the barrier on your own. Now people understood. The problems must be incredibly hard if the Zor's supercomputer couldn't solve them. How could humans hope to do better? You will have one Earth month, the Zor said. Choose your best problem solvers. They can be anyone, scientists, artists, children, elders. Anyone you think might help. We will return then for the challenge. With that, the alien left. The world was in shock. A month to prepare for the biggest test in human history. The stakes couldn't be higher. Governments around the world sprang into action. They called for the smartest people from every field. Math geniuses, creative artists, out-of-the-box thinkers, anyone who might help solve the Zor's problems. Special training centers were set up. People practiced solving all kinds of puzzles and brain teasers. TV shows held contests to find hidden geniuses. Schools changed their lessons to focus on creative thinking. But as the days passed, doubt started to creep in. How could humans compete with alien tech? What if the problems were about things humans had never even heard of? The pressure was enormous. Some people said they should give up. Why try if they were just going to fail? But others argued that humans had to try. This was their one chance to join the galaxy. They couldn't just let it go. As the challenge day got closer, a small team began to stand out. They weren't all famous scientists or top students. They came from all walks of life. But they had one thing in common. They could all think in weird, wonderful ways. The world watched and waited. In just a few days, this team would face the Zor's challenge. The future of humanity was in their hands. Could they do the impossible? Could they prove that humans had something special to offer the galaxy? The stage was set. The players were chosen. Now, all that was left was to see if humans really could excel where even advanced aliens could not. With only a month to prepare for the Zor's challenge, Earth was buzzing with activity. Every country, every city, every small town was looking for people who could think differently. The search was on for those special minds that could solve the unsolvable. In New York, a young artist named Maya was painting when she got the call. Her art was known for being strange but beautiful. People said she saw the world in a way no one else did. Now she was being asked to join the challenge team. On the other side of the world, in a small village in India, an old man named Raj was playing chess with kids. He had never gone to school, but he could beat anyone at chess. His mind worked in ways that amazed everyone. A government agent came to get him for the team. In a high school in Brazil, a teenager named Carlos was always in trouble for daydreaming. But his daydreams led to inventions that his teachers couldn't believe. When he solved a math problem that had stumped professors, he was quickly added to the team. All around the world, similar stories were happening. A cook from Italy who created impossible flavors. A gamer from Japan who could see patterns no one else could. A farmer from Kenya who had ideas that changed how people grew food. These people, and many others, were brought to a special training center. It was a big, strange-looking building that had been built just for this. Inside, it was like nothing anyone had ever seen. There were rooms full of puzzles that changed every day, mazes that rearranged themselves, art supplies that could make 3D sculptures in midair, computers with programs no one understood. It was all designed to make people think in new ways. The team members were excited but nervous. They knew the fate of the world was on their shoulders. Every day they worked on harder and harder problems. They learned to work together, to combine their unique ways of thinking. But it wasn't easy. Some days the puzzles seemed impossible. Team members would get frustrated and want to quit. Arguments broke out. People wondered if they were really the right ones for this job. Dr. Samantha Lee, the scientist in charge of the training, watched all this with worry. "We need to try something different," she said one day. "We're thinking too much like humans. We need to think like, well, not like humans." Her idea was crazy, but they were desperate. She set up a room that changed gravity, made sounds into colors, and turned words into smells. It was like stepping into another world. At first, everyone got sick, but slowly they started to understand. In this weird room, Maya's art came to life and solved math problems. Raj's chess games predicted weather patterns. Carlos's daydreams turned into blueprints for impossible machines. It was strange, wonderful, and exactly what they needed. As the days passed, the team grew stronger. They learned to see problems from angles no one had thought of before. They found solutions that seemed to come from dreams or magic, but it was all just their minds working in amazing new ways. Outside the training center, the world waited and hoped. News shows talked about nothing else. Schools taught kids about the team members, holding them up as heroes. People prayed, crossed their fingers, and wished on stars for the team to succeed. But not everyone was hopeful. Some people said it was all a trick by the Zor. Others thought humans should just accept that they weren't special. There were even protests, saying Earth should just say no to the whole challenge. Inside the center, the team didn't know about any of this. They were too busy preparing, pushing their minds to the limit every day. They became like a family, supporting each other, laughing together, crying together. As the last week of preparation began, Dr. Lee gathered the team. "You've all done amazing things," she said. "You've solved problems I thought were impossible. But the real challenge is still to come. Are you ready?" The team looked at each other. They were tired, scared, but also excited. They had come so far. Now it was almost time to face the Zor and their challenge. The fate of humanity would soon be in their hands. Maya, the artist, spoke for everyone when she said, "We're ready. Whatever the Zor throw at us, we'll find a way. That's what humans do best." The final countdown had begun. The morning of the challenge dawned bright and clear. It felt like the whole world was holding its breath. In every country, people gathered around TVs and radios, waiting for news. In New York, where it all began, the Zor had set up a huge dome in Central Park. It was made of a strange, shimmering material that seemed to change colors as you looked at it. No one knew what was inside. The human team arrived early. They looked tired but determined. Maya, the artist, carried a bag full of strange tools she had made. Raj, the old chess player, had a board tucked under his arm. Carlos, the daydreaming teen, was scribbling in a notebook as he walked. Dr. Lee led them to the dome's entrance. "Remember your training," she said, "but more importantly, remember who you are. You're here because you think differently. That's our strength." As they stepped inside, the world watched through cameras that floated in the air. The dome was bigger on the inside than it looked. In the center was a large, round platform. The Zor leader stood there waiting. "Welcome, humans," it said. "Are you ready for the challenge?" The team nodded. They were as ready as they could be. The Zor leader held up the glowing blue cube it had shown before. "This device," it said, "will present the problems. You must solve at least one to win. You have until the sun sets. Good luck." With a wave of its hand, the Zor activated the cube. The air filled with swirling lights and strange symbols. The challenge had begun. At first, the team was overwhelmed. The problems were unlike anything they had seen before. There were shapes that couldn't exist in 3D space, puzzles made of colors they couldn't name, and math that seemed to break the laws of physics. For the first hour, they struggled. Nothing they tried seemed to work. Outside the dome, people watching began to lose hope. Had they overestimated themselves? But then, something changed. Maya started painting in the air, using colors from the problems themselves. Raj set up his chessboard, but instead of pieces, he used the strange symbols floating around them. Carlos closed his eyes and started to hum, his hands moving as if conducting an invisible orchestra. The other team members watched in amazement. Then slowly they began to understand. They weren't supposed to solve these problems the normal way. They had to think beyond what was possible. As the day went on, the team worked in ways that made no sense to those watching. They danced to solve math problems. They built sculptures to answer physics questions. They even used food to explain complex theories. The Zor watched all this with their big purple eyes. They looked confused, then surprised, then excited. This was not what they had expected. Hours passed. The team solved problem after problem, but the cube kept creating new ones. They were getting tired. The sun was starting to set. They needed to do something big to win. That's when Carlos had an idea. "Guys," he said, "we're still thinking too small. We need to solve all the problems at once." The others looked at him like he was crazy, but then Maya's eyes lit up. "I see it," she said. "It's all connected." Working faster than ever, the team began to combine all the problems into one giant puzzle. They used everything they had learned, every weird idea they had. It was messy and chaotic and beautiful. As the last ray of sun hit the dome, the team stepped back. In front of them was a swirling, shifting creation that seemed alive. It was an answer to every problem the cube had given them, all at once. The cube floated into the air, scanned their creation, and then it went dark. For a moment, everything was silent. Had they done it? Had they won? The Zor leader stepped forward, its eyes wide. "Impossible," it said softly. Then louder, with excitement, "You did it. You solved not just one, but all the problems, in a way we never imagined possible." The team looked at each other in shock. Then they began to laugh and cheer. They had done it. They had won the challenge. Outside the dome, the world erupted in celebration. Humans had proved themselves. They had shown that their unique way of thinking, their creativity and imagination, was truly special. The big day was over, but for humanity, a much bigger adventure was just beginning. The cheers from outside the dome were deafening. Humans had won the challenge, but as the team's excitement began to fade, they realized something wasn't right. The Zor leader wasn't smiling anymore. "Impressive," the alien said, its voice cool. But that was just the warm-up. The team's hearts sank. Warm up? What did that mean? The Zor leader explained. The first challenge was to see if humans could think creatively. Now that they had proved they could, the real contest would begin. "This is your final test," the alien said. "If you pass, Earth joins the galactic community. If you fail, we leave forever." The team looked at each other nervously. They were tired from the first challenge. Could they handle another? The Zor activated its cube again. This time, a hologram appeared in the center of the dome. It showed a planet, but not one anyone recognized. "This is Zoria, our homeworld," the Zor said. "It's dying. Our sun is fading, and our people are suffering. Your challenge is to save it." The team was shocked. Save a whole planet. How could they do that? The Zor gave them more information. Zoria's sun would burn out in 100 years. They had tried moving their people to other planets, but Zorians could only survive on worlds very like their own. They had searched the galaxy but found nothing suitable. "We have the technology to move planets," the Zor said, "but we can't find a new home. That's your task. You have 1 hour." With that, the Zor stepped back. The clock started ticking. The team huddled together. This was bigger than anything they had faced before. They had to think fast. Maya started drawing the Zorian solar system. Raj used his chess pieces to represent planets and stars. Carlos closed his eyes, deep in thought. They threw out idea after idea. Move Zoria to a new star. Too risky. Find a way to reignite their sun. Impossible with their tech. Build a giant space station. Not enough time. 40 minutes passed. They were getting nowhere. The pressure was immense. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders. That's when Carlos spoke up. Guys, we're thinking too much like the Zor. We need to think like humans. He explained his wild idea. It was crazy, impossible, and maybe just crazy enough to work. For the next 15 minutes, they worked furiously. Maya drew plans. Raj calculated odds. The others fine-tuned the details. With 5 minutes left, they were ready. The Zor leader looked at them curiously as they approached. "We have a solution," Maya said confidently. She explained their plan. Instead of finding a new home for the Zorians, they would bring a new home to them. They would use the Zor's planet-moving technology to bring other planets to the Zorian system. "We'll create a new solar system," Carlos added excitedly. "We'll bring in younger stars to orbit around your old sun. They'll heat it up, giving you thousands more years. And we'll bring in compatible planets too," Raj continued. "You'll have a whole system of new worlds to explore and colonize." The Zor leader was silent for a long moment. The team held their breath. Was their idea too wild? Finally, the alien spoke. "In all our years of space travel, we never considered this. We were so focused on finding a new home, we didn't think to build one." Its purple eyes seemed to sparkle. "This plan is dangerous, complex, and will take incredible coordination. It's also brilliant, creative, and exactly what we need." The team couldn't believe it. Had they really done it? The Zor leader raised its arms. "Humans of Earth, you have passed the final test. Your creativity, your ability to think in ways we cannot, is truly remarkable. We would be honored to welcome Earth into the galactic community." Cheers erupted both inside and outside the dome. They had done it. Earth was going to join the stars. As the team hugged each other, crying and laughing, they knew this was just the beginning. Humanity's greatest adventure was about to start. The contest was over, but the real challenge, helping to reshape a solar system and save an alien race, was just beginning, and Earth was ready for it. A year had passed since the day Earth joined the galactic community. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Zor ships were now a common sight in the sky. Alien tech was helping solve problems like hunger and disease, and humans were traveling to the stars. But the biggest project was just beginning. Operation New Zoria, they called it. The plan to save the Zor homeworld by creating a new solar system around it. It was the biggest challenge humanity had ever faced. The original team, Maya, Raj, Carlos, and the others, were at the heart of it all. They were working with the best scientists from Earth and dozens of alien worlds. The project was huge, complex, and dangerous. Many said it was impossible. Today was the day they would move the first planet. Maya stood on the bridge of the massive ship that would guide the planet to its new home. She looked out at the star-filled space and took a deep breath. "Are we really ready for this?" she asked. Raj, sitting at a console covered in strange symbols, nodded. "The math checks out. It's now or never." Carlos, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke up. "Wait, I have an idea." The others turned to him. They had learned to listen when Carlos had an idea. His wild thoughts had saved them more than once. "What if we don't just move the planet?" he said, his eyes shining. "What if we paint it?" At first, everyone was confused. Paint the planet? Was that even possible? But as Carlos explained, excitement grew in the room. He wanted to use special light-reflecting paint to cover parts of the planet. When they moved it into place, it would shine like a giant disco ball, reflecting light and heat to other planets in the system. The Zor scientists were skeptical. "It's never been done," one said. "It could go wrong in so many ways." But the human team pushed for it. "That's the point," Maya said. "It's never been done, but that doesn't mean it can't be done." After hours of debate, they decided to try it. It was risky, but the potential benefits were too big to ignore. For the next month, ships flew back and forth from the planet, spraying it with the special paint. From space, you could see patterns forming, swirls and spirals that looked like a giant work of art. Finally, it was time. The painted planet was ready to move. Maya gave the order. Huge engines fired up. The planet began to move. For hours, everyone watched nervously as the planet inched towards its new position. Would it work? Had they just made a huge mistake? As the planet settled into its new orbit, they held their breath. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but then, slowly, they began to see it. Light from nearby stars was bouncing off the painted surface, spreading warmth to nearby planets. Cheers erupted on the ship and back on Zoria. It was working even better than they had hoped. Over the next few years, they moved more planets, each one painted in a unique way. Some reflected light, others absorbed heat. Together, they created a perfectly balanced system. The Zor were amazed. Their dying world was coming back to life. Plants were growing again. The long winter was ending. On the day the last planet was moved into place, there was a big celebration. The Zor leader stood before a crowd of humans and aliens. "We thought we knew everything about space travel and planet engineering," it said. "But you humans showed us that there's always a new way to look at things. Your creativity, your willingness to try the impossible, that is your greatest strength." The leader paused, its purple eyes shining with emotion. "You didn't just save our world. You taught us to see the universe in a new way. And for that, we will always be grateful." As Maya, Raj, and Carlos listened to the speech, they felt proud. They had done what seemed impossible. They had put a human touch on the stars themselves. The adventure wasn't over. There were more worlds to explore, more problems to solve. But now, humans and aliens would face them together. And with human creativity leading the way, there was nothing they couldn't do. The future was bright, colorful, and full of possibilities, just like the shining, painted planets spinning in the new Zorian sky.